Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation, the Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
It's time! The Misfit Nation presents the ToosDay Crue, and they're coming in hot. The boys are back and guaranteed to make you jump just like crisscross. Make you feel like your soul's on a trampoline. Cagney and Lacey aren't just raising the bar. They're lifting you higher than an eagle can make you soar on rocket fuel. They're bringing out energy, the truth, and the fire you need to power through your week. So buckle up, Buttercup. Pull down them shoulder straps, because tonight it's Tuesday and the boys are bringing it live. Take it, boys.
Hey, good
Back
evening,
in
Stephen.
town.
Yeah, we are back. We are back. And hey, we've got a wonderful show lined up for this evening. How was your day off, Stephen?
It was good. It's hot as hell here today. You walk outside and all of a sudden you're just soaking wet. But
You probably got that thing up there with all that rain called humidity.
yes, humidity.
I completely understand where you're coming from. We've probably got about 90% running around down here right now, and yeah, it's a bit warm. It's a bit
Yeah,
warm.
it's a little crazy. Good thing I'm not in one of the flood areas because a lot of areas got hit pretty bad around here.
I tell you what, I saw some video, and it looked like underground rivers running through subway stations up
I
there in
at
the
28th Street, New York, it was just like a pool. They opened the doors and all the water just shot into the train. It was hysterical.
exactly. That would that would make me think, maybe not open the train doors, but
Yeah, considering it rides a rail that's all electric and it just, cook you. But,
yeah, yeah. Well, hey, let's talk about our guest a little bit. Her name is Darlene Marshall, and she is a well-being expert. And I'm not going to go real deep into her story. I'm going to let her talk about that. But she was named by Burnalong as America's favorite trainer and coach, and and Coach 360 included her as a top 24 coaches having an impact. And we talked to her a little bit in the green room. She's definitely got a lot of energy. I can't wait to get her on here. And
and I finally figured out what you should have put as the name, badass.
badass. You know what?
That,
Badass would work.
she's
So
laughing right now.
yeah. So hey, I tell you what, let's welcome badass Darlene Marshall in here to the show.
I'm so embarrassed. Thank you so much. I'll take badass. I'll take that and run with it. Okay, we can put
Yeah,
that on like a
that
coat.
works. That energy you have, badass.
I can't help it. And you know what? I got to keep hype because we're recording. I live on the East Coast, and I'm normally winding down this time of day because I start my day at 5. But I was
Yeah,
like, you know what? Rich
too.
asked me to come on. I'm coming on. Let's do it.
Well, he spoke very highly of you. He said that
I paid him.
you paid him. That's how that works. Okay. But he said that he heard you speak. You was speaking to him at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And he said as soon as you were done speaking, he made a beeline right for you. And
he was hand in hand. You come on the show? Yeah, of course I'll come on your show, man. But we
awesome.
met through the Travis Manion Foundation. I'm one of the instructors for the Spartan Leadership Program, and hopefully he's talked about it on the show that he is one of this year's cohort, which we're always excited for any of our veterans, first responders, and of course families of the fallen to join us in SLP. And any member of SLP, any of my cohort members, when they ask me to do something, the answer is always yes. So honored and excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, we are happy to have you. We didn't get into your bio much, just, it's told a couple of your accolades and everything. So why don't you just start wherever you want to start and get us to how we ended up here today?
Sure. Well, I normally start the whole elevator pitch by saying I'm just some personal trainer who grew up on a dirt road. I'm from upstate New York in a town with more cows than people. We didn't even have a stoplight when I was in high school. We do have one now. And my family's been here for kind of forever, salted the earth. My dad is a veteran. His brothers are all veterans. And my family history is in almost every major American conflict. So very proud to be the descendant of people who have lived in service. And service runs really deep in our family.
Awesome.
Grew up playing all the tall people sports. I'm 6'1". I am not a small woman. So badass in stature as well. Brick House is the family theme song. And basketball, volleyball in high school. Went on to play rugby in college. I was the first person in my family to finish a 4-year degree, something that my family is very proud of, having been hard workers, many of them not finishing high school, to create an environment that could get me to a place of higher learning was a big accomplishment. But by the time I finished college, I was really struggling mentally, physically, emotionally. I was watching the Reelin ad for SOF Mission, thinking of resilience and all of these factors and the way they impact one another. And I was that person in my early 20s. By the time I was 23, I couldn't walk barefoot at all. I couldn't carry anything in my left arm. It seemed like my whole body was falling apart. My mental health was deteriorating. And it just got to this point, like, what is going on? And it turned out, I'd had these injuries playing rugby in college. Some of them had really festered. And it turned out I actually have a genetic condition that affects my joints and many of the structures in my body. And so it turns out tackling 200-pound women for fun was the wrong sport. And at that point, I was told, essentially, I wasn't going to get better. I was told to, I quote, prepare myself for a sedentary life. And, you've known me for 10 whole minutes and you've picked up on the energy is high with me.
Yeah, that probably didn't work very good.
No, that wouldn't work for me. So I was told, all these things I would never do again. And I essentially decided I would rather break myself trying to figure it out than believe what I was being told. And so over the next 5 years through trial and error, I tried lots of things. There was lots of errors. But 5 years later, I ran my first 5K. At that point in my life, I was eating like an idiot. I was chain smoking. I was partying. And I really had, that come to Jesus moment, realizing this is not going to give me a future that I want. Mm-hmm. And just step by step trudging through the process of going from, Taco Bell and cigarettes to, eating like I had a brain and a future, running 5Ks. And at that point had really outpaced everything I was told I couldn't do and decided, well, maybe I could help other people do this too. And that's when I decided to become a personal trainer. And that was in 2012, so 13 years ago. And from the beginning, I specialized in working with other people who'd kind of been through stuff. So whether it was an accident or a diagnosis, or they didn't know what was going on, but they didn't fit that, fitness industry, the thing we've been told, and was off to the races. So that's kind of where it started. Where it is now, I went on to get a master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania in applied positive psychology. And for anybody who doesn't know, positive psychology is the scientific study of human well-being. So all that resilience stuff, the science it's based on, is actually my jam. So I went to UPenn, I studied and, went from the dirt road to the Ivy League, which is kind of wild. And really got deep into the science of what it means to have a life worth living and how do we build it. And so my jam is taking all these seemingly disparate things, how we eat, how we move, how we think, how we pray. How do we weave that together into a sustainable lifestyle that supports our well-being so that we can live in service of what matters most? So that's my jam. I don't think the awards are the fun part. I think it's the helping people that's the fun part. But yeah, there's a couple of those along the way too.
Yes, it is. Now, I have to ask, and I have to tell everybody, you also have a podcast on Spotify. It is called Better Than Fine. I actually listened to 3 episodes of it. So I got some questions and stuff for you.
So I paid you too.
Yes. Checks in the mail, right?
Yeah. It's stamp, signed, sealed, delivered, man.
Oh, okay. I do have to, the first question that I got to ask about your podcast, because I think your co-host is, we don't get to see your co-host, but I got to ask you about Princess.
Oh, she is on the couch asleep. I was like, my co-host, I anchored the show. So Princess is my dog. I have never had a dog before, and I brought her home on an epic road trip. I did 1,800 miles in 3 days from Houston, Texas to upstate New York.
Oh.
It was a wild ride, and I've never done a long haul like that before, so it was crazy. But I met her last August and literally met her and immediately knew, like, oh, I like this dog. I like this dog. Oh, I like this dog because this is my dog. I grew up in a household that was pretty unstable and had someone who used their dog as a form of abuse and control. And so I never wanted a dog. I appreciated that other people liked dogs. And over many years of therapy have gotten to a place where I can be around other people's dogs and be fine. And so the last thing I expected on my bingo card was to ever have a dog. And as soon as I met her, it has changed me in ways that I have a hard time explaining. And I only had gotten to spend 3 days with her last August and until I had to come home and work. And when I went to see her to pick her up in May, I'm going to cry. She hadn't seen me in 7 months and she immediately knew who I was. She was so happy to see me.
Yes.
And it has changed me in these very foundationally profound ways to believe that I could even be the kind of person that would have a dog. Like, I'm sure it sounds crazy to the dog people, but if you've ever had an experience like that with an animal, it really can rock your world.
You know, I don't care how bad a day you're having, the unconditional love that a dog looks at you with when you walk in the door you cannot replace that.
Yeah.
It's pure.
Here's a crazy one for you, Jake. Do I call you Lacey or call you Jake?
You
What
call
am I
me
supposed to
Jake.
call you?
You
Just
call
not
me
late for
Jake.
dinner. Just not late for dinner, right? Supper.
That's right.
Excuse me.
That's right.
So before we started recording, we were joking about nicknames, right? And that's where this
Uh-huh.
joke about like, I'm badass. What I didn't say before, and is kind of the way that I knew she was mine, one of my childhood nicknames from my aunt, who I only just lost the week before I went to pick the dog up, that aunt died of cancer. Her nickname for me in childhood was Princess. And when I met the dog, I was like, of course your name is Princess. And then, of course, she passed just before I got her home. So Princess was one of my nicknames, and it is my dog's name, and full circle, right? Sometimes the universe just whispers in your ear, go that way, and you have to be smart enough to listen.
Yes.
That's how that works. Yes.
And that's a great story on how you met. And, you know, I never thought that I would ever allow a dog in the house, because when I grew up on a farm, dogs lived outside, cats lived outside. I still will not allow a cat in the house, but
well, cats are a-holes, so
cats are evil.
I have 2, and they are living teddy bears. I rescued their mom, and they were born into my care. So I was there when they were born. I gentled them from the moment of their birth. But they are living 15-pound teddy bears. They're the best. I completely
understand. But
you dope them up, because I've had cats and they climb the curtains and just claw at things, and
but
you go to the bathroom and their paws under the door and they want to get there.
This is the trick, man. Everybody knows you got to train a dog, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't realize, and with cats, you call it gentling, but you have to train a cat just like you do a dog. And if so, that cat was not properly gentled. And again, when whether we're talking dogs, cats, anybody, I blame the human. I never blame the animal.
Oh yeah.
And when I'm talking about my own childhood experiences, which were pretty traumatic around dogs, it's the humans that were the problem. I never blamed the animal. But with a-hole cats, if nobody gentled them from the time they were a kitten, they're gonna be an a-hole. And I'm proud to say mine are not a-holes. They are literal bears. They are fluffy and smushy, and you can carry them around like babies. They love to cuddle. They're the best. We're working on Princess is 60 pounds, so I can't quite carry her like a baby yet.
Yeah, and you know, you talk. If I were to ever get a cat, it would. I definitely would have to get a Maine Coon, because I love them.
Awesome. They're so cool.
But like I said, I never thought I would ever allow a dog in the house. When I met Mrs. Holland, we were meeting and living together, and there were dogs in the house. And now I don't know what I would do without. I've got a 110-pound Cane Corso, who's a lap dog, and I don't know what I would do without him laying in my lap when I'm sitting on the couch. It's just, I love him. And
it's wild.
Oh, it is. It is. Well, hey, we're going to shift gears a little bit. And like I said before, folks, the podcast is on Spotify, and it's called Better Than Fine. I listened to 3 episodes, and I got some questions piqued my interest, and I want to see kind of what you think about it. And I'll tell you right offhand, the 3 episodes I listened to, weight loss, drugs, and lifestyle with Dr. Scott Cheatham.
Yeah, Dr. Scott's awesome.
Exercise and well-being with Danny Fung.
Love Danny.
And then the one that really got me, and you mentioned resilience before, was the 3 keys to resilience. And it wasn't a long episode, but man, you put out a lot of information in that episode. And resilience is kind of one of the things that we really like to talk about on this show, because, you know, we are, our focus is, if somebody's going to the dark side and feeling like ending it all, we want to keep them out of that space. And how do you do that? You do that with resilience. So if you don't mind, we'll just go ahead and get started, and I'm going to pop a few questions at you.
Oh, yeah. Let her rip. I'm here. I'm just
Okay,
opening notes to make sure I don't embarrass myself.
No, you're okay. They're going to be easy questions.
No cheating and reading notes. Go ahead.
Rock and roll. Let's go.
On the weight loss, drugs, and lifestyle, I liked what you put out, because, you know, I'm kind of like what you and the doctor were talking about. You know, the jury is still out on a lot of these drugs. And I know that there's a lot of people who do use them right. They start taking them, and they change their eating habits, they change their exercise habits, and do what they need to do. Yes, that's fine. But I liked what you said about not listening to unqualified influencers. There's always an influencer out there, and you know, what is your opinion on the GLPs? And, you know, I know they're not a magic solution to everything, but if in the right hands, can they work and be helpful and not hurt your body on down the road?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So first off, let me, when we say like unqualified influencer. So my certifications are in personal training, wellness coaching. I've been in the fitness and wellness space for 13 years. Then of course I have this advanced degree in well-being. So I am not a physician. I'm not a diagnostician. I don't create pharmaceuticals for a living. And I say that because there's a lot of people out there expressing opinions on people's medical decisions that frankly have no business doing that.
Yes.
And so I believe with the whole totality of my heart that each of us has a dual right to do whatever they're going to do with their body as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else, and a responsibility to the people that love us. And I say it's a dual action because you do what you're going to do based off your beliefs in your body. And other people are going to have to take care of you for your bad decisions and mistakes. The other thing I want to throw into the conversation is the idea that we live in a world that has been completely designed to exploit our physiology, right? We got glowing rectangles that half the population are absolutely addicted to. They can't put them down long enough to read a book. We've got food that is literally manufactured to exploit your neurophysiology so that you can't make a good decision about what you put in your body. And it's important that we recognize that, because along the course of a lifespan, depending on the context you grew up in, you might have an adult that ends up in a situation that they are in a downward spiral that they are struggling to get out of and they need help. And if we demonize the thing that's going to be their lifeline, we're betraying our own values when we talk about resilience, we talk about getting help, we talk about decisions, right? There's a threshold that many people find. And so do I believe that there is a threshold where the necessity of breaking that cycle needs some intervention? Absolutely. The perfect example of this right now is, of course, I can't think of his name. Who's I can't even think of his songs right now. Help me out. Who is the singer? He comes out of country, but he did pop crossover. He's a big boy.
Jelly Roll?
Jelly Roll. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's the pressure of being on someone else's podcast. My brain just like short circuits. Look at what Jelly Roll is doing right now. Inspired by The Rock, inspired by Dwayne Johnson.
Yes.
Jelly Roll went on GLP-1 medications. He has been running. He's going to do, I think he's going to do a half marathon. He lifts, he changed his diet. He did all kinds of things in order to, he changed my name. In order to break
That's an inside
that
joke
cycle.
between us.
I dig it. In order to break that cycle, Jelly Roll used these medications as a leverage point. Now, what Dr. Scott and I talk about in that episode, and I've done 3 episodes in the last 18 months on GLP-1 medications. It was Dr. Scott's was the first time I had a guest on to talk about it. And those 2 earlier episodes were me expressing my own skepticism. The first one was on the history of weight loss drugs and how every time we have rolled out weight loss drugs in our culture, it has ultimately been to the detriment. People died from fen-phen. I don't know if anybody remembers that additive they were putting in food in the 90s that would just make you poop yourself.
Yes.
Right. All in the name of weight loss. None of those were health interventions. Right? So I was very skeptical. And it turns out that first wave of GLP-1 medication, now normally when someone calorically restricts to lose weight, about 20 to 30% of the weight that they lose is going to be lean mass. So metabolically active muscle and bone density and other important dense tissues that aren't fat. The first wave of GLP-1 medication studies showed up to 60% lean mass. Basically bone and muscle wasting. Now that's the extreme end was 60%. But some of them showed 50, some of them showed 40. So more than you would get from caloric restriction or gastric bypass surgery. That is bad. That is like snapping hips. That is metabolic damage. So then people would go off it and their weight would balloon, but the weight they're putting back on isn't muscle, right? It's fat. Alestra, thank you. Chat is helping me out. So what does this all mean? Well, it means that maybe it's not all cracked up to be, and maybe somebody who just wants to lose 20 or 30 pounds, going that route might not be a healthy intervention. The person who is morbidly obese, which means they have a BMI of over 40, which is more than most people think it is when we talk about obesity thresholds. Okay. So what does that all mean? The people who are going to use these drugs, what we now know is that they need to eat fiber, they need to eat protein, and they need to pick up heavy stuff. Well, what do we have deficiencies of in almost 90% of the population of America? Fiber deficiency, protein, well, less so with protein now than it used to be. And most people are not picking up enough heavy stuff. And again, better than it used to be, but we can do better. So it's the same lifestyle recommendations we make to anybody. And the good news is these newer and newer waves, right? So we started out with Ozempic and now we're on our 3rd generation of GLP-1 medications. We're about to see them come out in pill form within the next, I think, 6 to 12 months. We're going to see pills, daily pills instead of injectables. They're refining this technology where it's causing less and less lean mass. We can dial in the dosage. The cost is going to come down. So I always joke with clients, you don't want to be the first open heart surgery patient.
No.
Why would you want to be the first guinea pig on this stuff? So
Yes.
I just had suggested from the beginning, you pump the brakes, you make a good decision with your doctor, and don't let some pharmaceutical company's marketing branch and some influencer who just wants to try to sell you stuff convince you to make a medical decision that might not be the right call.
All
Well,
right.
see,
There's
that's
my
why
preach.
I've always been a big person, and younger when I went to the doctor, it was you need to go on this diet plan, you need to go on this diet plan, and now a new doctor I go to, he's like, oh, I'm going to prescribe you this needle so you can lose weight, and the insurance company turned around and said, you're not diabetic, we can't give you that.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't afford to buy it. And then I hear once you start doing those needles, if you stop, you get sick anyway. So where do you go from there? You're saying he's starting this. If you stop, you gain the weight back. If you stop taking these needles, you wind up getting sick. So where's the good in all that?
Well, and for the people, what we're seeing in these later waves of data is for the people who are taking the medication and using it to create momentum to then change their lifestyle. So again, Jelly Roll is my chef's kiss example of someone who used it to get the weight down so that they had freedom of movement, and then focus on resistance training, increasing their activity, and learning how to eat, because the benefit, and I do have clients. I have clients who are on it. I have clients who are going on it right now. But we made an informed decision that we also prepped them with lifestyle change so that they felt more ready to change all these other things. One of the benefits that I've seen directly with my own clients is this cut down of what they call food noise, where if you're somebody who you're just thinking like, I got peanut butter cups in the cabinet, and I can tell you right now, when we're finished, I'm going to go have a peanut butter cup because it's in the back of my head all day. You're going to eat that peanut butter cup. It's going to be delicious. But for some people, that rumination becomes overwhelming, and it becomes a static in the background of their lives. Well, some of that's hormonal. We think of it as a willpower problem, but it's actually coming from their physiology. And when they take a GLP-1 medication, that goes away. And suddenly they're not just thinking about food all the time, and they can have one bite of something, feel satisfied, and put it down.
Okay.
Well, for anybody who struggles with their mental health, and the demon voices that come that you can't stop, imagine that you had something you could take that would make that go away.
Okay, well,
Right?
you could take that to make it go away, but I work retail. I work in a car shop, and I have guys that come in at 7 in the morning, and the first words out of their mouth is, "What's for lunch today?" I just had a protein drink, and I'm good. And then they got me thinking about what the hell I want to eat now, because they're hungry, so also I'm hungry. You're thinking, oh, food. What are we going to order today? What are we going to do?
Yeah, Stephen, your brother.
How do you fight that?
Your brother works with a guy that's like that.
I'm sure.
And that's I think for some people at some point in their lives, it becomes like a demon. And if they can make that demon go away, and then they have the willpower, the belief, the faith that they can change, what kind of jerk would I be if I said, I don't want somebody to have that, right? But I think the idea that we're going to go out there and market it to every American because we're going to glorify being skinny. Like, I'm a big woman. I'm 6'1". I've 220 at my fighting weight. I can pick up very heavy things and put them back down. When we're glorifying being tiny, that's not a reason to be happy. And let's find better reasons to take care of ourselves, right? To do it for our well-being, to do it for the people we love. There's a lot of marketing chatter that isn't helping anybody be well. I also want to throw out, guys, I can only see the last 2 or 3 things in chat. And I know somebody asked a question, but it scrolled up in a way that I can't see it. So I just don't want to abandon anybody's questions along the way. So I'm leaning on you guys.
Yeah, I'm going to pop that in here right now.
Great.
And that is from probably a listener in Nepal. We have some folks that listen over there at Sherp for You. When we climb, some of those that we lead fall back. How do we have them to dig deep to reach the peak? Thank you for that question, Sherp for You.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about there is leadership, right? And I think there's a dual thing here as well, where are we talking about, if you're someone who grows in a certain way, it's almost like a form of natural attrition that there's going to be people who fall out of our lives. And I've certainly had plenty of times where, well-intentioned people, good friends, they're just not in my life in the way that they were at one time. Right. So, but I'm guessing that our Sherp for You is not saying that. Right. So we're going to put that case aside. We're talking about people who we grow in our trajectory and maybe they're still struggling. And I think the answer to that, really, of how do we then bring them along with us, is through compassion and patience. And anybody, I know in the intro you say that you love coaches coming on and sharing their coaching wisdom. Anybody who has studied coaching knows that a real effective coaching strategy is not telling people what to do. Everybody hates being told what to do, right? Mm-hmm. Great coaches are the ones who make the space for you to find your own useful solutions. And to me, that's what great leaders do too, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense, what the thing I'm trying to say?
Yeah, you're basically empowering people to help themselves.
Yeah, through good questions, having resources, sharing tools, and also letting them know that when they struggle, when they fail, when they feel ashamed or guilty, that you're not judging them. I think that's one of the most powerful gifts we can give one another is a safe space to hurt and to feel and to fail without judgment and without malice. Those are the most impactful spaces for growth.
And
one of the things I've learned and taught working retail for over 30 years is don't just tell somebody to do something, do it with them, learn with them, let them learn with you, and all of a sudden you're working together and you got the challenge that way. Don't just sit there and say, I want this done. Get to work with them, and everything gets done, and everybody learns to work together, and you become a team, and everything looks better that way. Instead of saying, you do this, you do this, you need to do this, work with them.
Exactly. And that's the difference between leadership and management.
Yeah.
Right? A manager can shake their finger and tell anybody what to do. A leader is the person who is in it with them, understanding their process and guiding them to growth.
Yes. And I have to, I got to credit my father with, he taught us that, and he wasn't afraid to see us fail. He would give us a task, and if we failed at it, he'd see if we could figure it out. If we couldn't, he'd lend a helping hand. And then, it's okay to fail, and just don't make a habit of it. But
fail better.
Yeah. Yes, fail better. Got another question in here from at Holbrook Hannah. Have you ever been told that you cannot do something because of a diagnosis or challenge? And how
Absolutely.
did you respond? Thank you for that question, Holbrook Hannah.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. When I was 23 years old, I was diagnosed with hypermobility Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I was told I would never run again, I'd never rock climb, I'd never be an athlete, and that I should lower my expectations. And my response was to fire that physical therapist. And so I went back to my diagnosing physician and said, we have a problem. His name is John Dallinger, and he, thank all that is good in the world, that he said, okay, well, that's the only physio available to recover from your hand surgery. Because after I was diagnosed, the only 23 plates of x-rays and 3 MRIs in 2 weeks after my diagnosis, because we had to figure out why I couldn't walk or use my left arm. And I had to have surgery on my left hand to repair the connective tissue that had been shredded beyond the point that it could be stabilized. Everything else I could do physio for. But at the time, my first husband was in grad school. It was all through the student medical center, so I didn't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And so I had to see this miserable physio. So I kept going back for her, but I also went and met with that doctor every 2 weeks for 6 months, and we would reassess and do a next baby step. And I mean, little tiny baby steps. I slept with towels wrapped around my elbows, tied around my elbows at night for 6 months. Because at the time I had night terrors, and I would hyperflex my elbows in my sleep when I would have my nightmares, and I was impinging the nerves until my hands would go numb. And so how did I respond? I made little tiny incremental changes for 5 years until I ran my first 5K. And when I crossed the finish line, I cried because I knew Sheaf was full of shit. And I would rather break myself trying. So since then, I have backcountry camped in the Grand Canyon with my own pack, 60 pounds on my back to get my own gear down because, damn it, no one else is going to carry my gear. Nice. I went to Thailand to study yoga. I lived literally in a plywood hut on a beach in Thailand to study yoga at this really obscure yoga school. That's how I got my yoga teacher training. I've gone to grad school. I'm training right now to run my first marathon, but no, I can't just run a marathon. I'm going to push a disabled child in a wheelchair in the Marine Corps Marathon in October just to prove that I can.
Awesome.
Damn.
And when I was 23, I couldn't take 2 steps barefoot, and I was told I would never run again. So
my question is, did you go to that doctor and flip them off? Go back to them and say, by the way.
No. Because how I live my life every day is my middle finger to them.
That's right. That's right.
And that's also true of, I alluded earlier to growing up in a really difficult household. I joke all the time online about 3 thriving out of spite. Having a well-lived life where I embrace people for who they are and I help them bring out the best in themselves is the biggest middle finger I will ever give to my abuser. Because he tried like hell to stomp the light out of me and control me, and he has failed terribly. And if that man couldn't stop me, nothing else can.
Awesome.
And thriving out of spite and loving people for who they are because he is incapable of love, like that's the best middle finger I could possibly give.
Awesome.
Rich was the same way when he got his leg blown up overseas. You'll never do this, you'll never do that. He was running marathons. My older brother, I think he broke his knee jumping a bike or up a ramp. The bike broke or whatever. He broke his knee. You'll never run. You'll never do this. He played football all through high school. You know, it's amazing what doctors can tell you, and then you just like, yeah, go screw. This is what's happening. You know?
This is what I'll say in the defense of that mindset is our medical professionals constantly see people who are unwilling to do the necessary work. Unwilling, unable, they don't have the resources, they don't have the support. There are an incredible number of things that have to go right around us to have the tools that we need to succeed. And there are a lot of people who are not being given those tools in a sustainable manner. And so I totally understand why they have that assumption of helplessness and failure. And it is not helping anybody. I can't tell you how many times I have had a client, because I specialize in working with other people who have stuff. I've had clients with my same diagnosis, rare neurological conditions, cancer patients, all kinds of people who have been told that, you know, they only have 3 degrees of range of motion, and we discover they have, you know, almost total range of motion in a joint. Crazy stuff. But it's because that medical professional has an expectation that has been predispositioned by seeing time after time after time of people who don't do even the basics. So I get it. And also a big middle finger.
Yes. Yes. And we have another question.
Bring
Yes,
it.
we do.
From I am not Bama fan. I love that screen name because I am not a Bama fan either. My daughter is 14 and 5'11", and she wants to pursue rugby. Where do we start? Great question.
Heck yeah. Well, first off, the Rugby Women's World Cup is going to be in August and September. And if you don't already have it set up to stream, be ready. We're going to watch. Unfortunately, I think the Ferns are going to kick the crap. New Zealand is probably going to kick the crap out of us. But it's going to be really fun. If anybody follows rugby, Portia, who is arguably the best women's rugby player ever, came out of retirement so she can play Alona Mar on the American Eagles. I don't love rugby. I don't know what you're talking about. But where can she get started? One of the beautiful things about rugby sevens having been in the Olympics, winning the bronze medal, and Alona Mar arguably becoming one of the fastest growing fan bases, right? She's the most famous rugby player on the planet. Is there's been this huge explosion in interest in rugby. And that means there's a lot of new local clubs starting up. So what I would say is first, look at the USA Rugby website and see if you can find a local friendly club. And if you can't, you might be able to start a local friendly club at your daughter's school, right? There's probably some other girls who are into it, and you can learn the basics of like the lateral pass forward, the proper rugby tackle. Just get some friendlies going. Get a club started at her school.
Okay.
If there's a local college university team, they might let her practice depending on their legal liability, because a lot of the times, you know, like we had a charity side to our college rugby team where we would run like high school practices, and a couple of our alumni went on to start local clubs. So I lived in Brooklyn for a long time. One of my friends founded the charity Little Ruggers, which was to teach kids how to play rugby. So just start looking in the local area, but USA Rugby is going to have a lot of information on their website. And if not that, start something, because every great idea happened because somebody started something, right? This show, every club. Why is soccer as popular as it is now in the States? It wasn't when I was growing up. It's because people started clubs. So start something.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, we had another question pop in, but I'm not going to pop it up until we talk about the other podcast that I listen to on your three
Sure.
keys to resilience. And you talk about three things in that: connection, purpose, and mindset. And this question is going to kind of play into that when you talk about it. Some things that I picked up out of that. First of all, you talk about resilience, and you have to have a connection, you have to have a purpose, and you have to have a good mindset. You talk about toxic positivity. Now, I've heard of toxic masculinity, toxic this, toxic that. Okay, what is toxic positivity?
Lacey, have you ever had something happen in your life and you go and tell somebody about it and they come back with like, oh, but come on, it can't be all that bad. Look at the bright side.
Every day.
Right.
Okay.
Is that helpful to you?
No, not really.
Right. A lot of times people misunderstand positive psychology as positive thinking.
Mhm.
Which is not at all what it is. And whenever somebody says like, oh, like positive, I love positive thinking, I know they do not speak my language. Because I am allergic to that fake, happy, dissociate, pretend everything is fine. You don't grow up a certain kind of way, and have been through some real muddy bad days. And come through, I call it going down the well. You
Mhm.
don't climb up out of the well and then go, oh, but everything's great. And that's toxic positivity. It's when we deny the difficult things of what it means to be human. You live long enough and you will experience suffering. That is just a foundational experience of being a human. And when we pretend that that is not true, it hurts us.
Okay.
We see that in nervous system disorders. We see that in autoimmune diseases. When we deny our human experience, it eventually damages the nervous system. And we see this downstream cascade to our mental health and our well-being. So that's toxic positivity. Instead, what we want to do is honor those difficult things,
Okay.
learn from them, and then integrate them back into a sustainable well-being and a sustainable way to view the world.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So what she's saying, Jake, is your buffering is okay.
Yes. Okay.
Your buffering is okay.
They make fun of me every now and then because I kind of lose my words and lose where I'm at. And so I'm buffering.
I dig that, right? You're just like the internal like wheel is spinning in your head.
He's the old AOL. You see the little thing, the clock ticking? That's Jake. They can be like, hi, I'm Jake.
And you talk about, and then I'm going to pop this question up here. You talk about three things: sleeping, eating well, and moving. And so I'm going to pop this question up here from her Misty Flight. Do you believe movement can heal more than just the body, and why or why not? And that is a awesome question, her Misty Fly.
Yeah, thank you, Misty Fly. Yes, absolutely, I do. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first is, where do we feel our feelings? Gentlemen, where do you feel your feelings?
Oh, I don't have feelings.
You don't have feelings. Okay, there we go. Is it a thought? Are your feelings a thought in your mind, or are they an experience in your body?
It kind of depends. There's, and I don't know what it is. It might be desensitization or whatever. I can sit and watch a movie and where people are dying and getting shot and yada, 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 all this. But I'm 57 years old and I bawl like a baby when old Yeller dies.
Of course you do. Of course you do, right? But that's not because you're thinking, oh, that dog. You're feeling it. We call them our feelings because we feel them in our bodies.
Yeah, because that dog was everybody's dog.
Yeah. And now that I love dogs, maybe I'll cry too. Gabby cries too. we feel our feelings in our bodies. Our emotions are, what we would say, a somatic experience. They're felt. And that sensation, the relationship that you have to that sensation, you can learn the language of the body through movement, and it allows us to be more attuned to our own experience. So that's one way that movement can heal more than just our physical selves. Another really important one is that there are biochemical changes that happen when we move the body that then have a downstream effect on our emotional experience and our cognition, the way that we think. So a few examples are movement can make you more sensitive to your own serotonin. Most people know at this point that serotonin is the happy hormone, right? So if you're someone who's struggling with your mental health, 20 minutes of moderate intensity cardio increases your sensitivity to your own serotonin, so that when something good happens, it's not just a thought experiment where you're like, oh, I should feel good about this thing, right? You're thinking, yeah, this is probably good. There's a distinct difference between a thought and a feeling of like, yeah, that felt good. I'm proud of myself, or this is a win. Well, if you don't have access to your own serotonin, it's not a feeling, it's a thought experiment. Have you ever had that feeling? Like that thing happened where something happens and you're like, oh, I think this is supposed to be good, but I don't really feel it.
Yeah. And I think that used to be referred to as the runner's high.
Yep. So, yep, they still call it the runner's high. That is the euphoria you get after sustained cardio. Yeah.
Okay.
So another mechanism of that, one, it produces more endorphins, which if you don't know, endo means internal. Orphan is referring to opioid. So your endorphins are your internal opioid sensitivity. So it's literal your internal painkiller, right? So endogenous painkiller. So if you're someone who is suffering, who is struggling, or even the way that movement will decrease our experience of our own physical pain is because of the endorphin production that comes from a hard physical activity.
All right.
So that's another way. So there's all these different mechanisms that the body is the vehicle for your whole experience of your life. And even to the point that when we have really sustained effort, so like if you've ever gone on a long hike and especially if you get to that beautiful vista at the end, where you experience that moment of transcendence, right? That kind of euphoric feeling. To me, that's a spiritual healing.
Yes.
All of which comes from movement. So to answer the question, yes, like it can heal us in all these different ways, but sometimes we got to work hard to get to the point that we have the capacity to get there. And that takes a lot of faith.
Yes. Yes, it does. Couple more here.
Bring them. I got time. I'm staying up late for you guys.
Okay. You talk about pragmatic optimism, and you changed that to realistic optimism.
Man, you did get into the deep cuts, didn't you?
Yes, I did. yes, I did.
I love it.
Just kind of explain to our listeners, and I dig the pragmatic optimism. I really like it. Kind of explain to our listeners just kind of what that is.
Sure. So I like the word pragmatic. Realistic to me always sounded kind of bitter. But I changed it because the positive psychology world has really latched on to this idea of realistic optimism. And the reason I don't love it is because I never want to tell other people they're not being realistic. But pragmatic, realistic optimism is that you have to be 100% honest with yourself about the situation you find yourself in, and then do the most proactive thing you possibly could. And what is underlying that is the research that shows that pessimism and optimism are not personality traits. They're not dispositional. They're the way that we explain our world to ourselves, especially when something goes wrong. So a pessimist, when something goes wrong, the research shows us that it's 3 P's. They rationalize it as permanent, pervasive, and personal. So, man, this sucks. It sucks because it's always sucked, because everything sucks, and because I suck. Right? We know those people that it's like, I'm such a loser. Everything's broken. It all blows. It's never going to get better. What's the point? So that person is not only way less happy, but they're less healthy. They have poorer quality of relationship. They're less likely to have meaning and purpose, and they'll give up easier than the person that's able to see, okay, that went wrong, but it's only this limited thing in my life. It's not going to last forever, and shit happens. It's not because there's something wrong with me. That's an optimist. The problem is that optimists will sometimes have too much upside, and they'll take on unnecessary risk, or they'll stick out too much longer. They'll believe that things will get better. They don't know when to quit. That's my problem.
Then it becomes toxic positivity.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we balance the two? Pragmatic optimism. Be honest with yourself about what's happening, and then do the most proactive thing you possibly can.
Okay. We had a term for that in the military. It was called embrace the suck.
Yeah. But okay, so here's my question for you guys, because I hear embrace the suck. Is there an optimism in embracing the suck?
There is.
Tell me about that, because I hear it, and I hear I hear passivity. I hear giving in, like a helplessness in it.
You embrace it because, if everybody's in the same situation, everybody's miserable. Why add to that by feeling bad about it? Like you're out, you're walking in the rain, it's pouring rain, you're walking in water up to your knees. Embrace it, thrive on it. Yeah, this sucks, but it could suck more. And it's a mindset to kind of give yourself motivation. And you're riding uphill on a bicycle, and you're pedaling, and it's like, well, you know what, this hill could be 10 miles long instead of 8, and you just kind of embrace that and challenge yourself to overcome that. And
I think it's the overcoming piece.
Yes. And that throws us into another question that we have from the gallery. From D Gervy 7, what is your go-to tool when you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take another peel of the onion underneath that optimism pessimism thing. The original research that led to the discovery of the field of positive psychology is in learned helplessness. And with the advent of neuroscience, it was discovered that it's actually all of our default setting when we're infants. And it's this idea that if we're put in an unsolvable problem, and it's not just humans, it's dogs, it's octopi, it's any vertebrate. If we are put in an unsolvable problem and left to struggle long enough, most people, most dogs, most whatevers will give up. And once they give up, a good chunk of that portion that gave up will not try to solve the problem. Right? Learned helplessness. They've been induced to give up. That passivity in humans mirrors depression.
Okay.
So to answer the question, knowing that about myself, knowing that that is a structure in my brain, it's not a choice, right? That there's a structure in my brain that works like a switch. And once you are switched to passivity, you get stuck. You get in this helplessness state, and it mirrors depression. When I feel stuck and overwhelmed, I will find anything that feels doable that I can go and do. It doesn't matter if that is folding the laundry, going for a walk, watering the garden, writing a paragraph. Last week I had COVID, and I was very, very, very sick. And I tried to do a small workout just because I was feeling so bad about all of it. And I reached down, and having this genetic condition that affects my joints, I misaligned my SI joint. I threw out the lowest part of my low back. Could not stand up. And man, was I mad. So I laid on the floor and did breathing exercises because that was what I could do without hurting myself worse.
Okay.
So what do I do when I'm stuck and overwhelmed? I find the smallest doable task that I can execute, and I do that. so that I'm doing something so that I don't get stuck in passivity and have a depressive episode.
Small successes.
Yep. Or whatever it is you can do it.
Okay.
If it's go for a walk that's 2 minutes long, do a 2-minute walk because it's way better than a 0-minute walk.
Got it. Hey, I hate to do this, but we've been on here now.
It's about that time.
It is. But before we go, I got one more question for you. What are 3 non-negotiables that the badass has to do every day for her day to be complete?
Oh, I got to walk Princess.
Okay.
Because I have this animal that relies on me now. And I've had a particularly difficult last 6 months, and I cannot tell you how many days taking care of that animal got me out of bed.
Yes.
It's wild. So walk Princess. And you eat vegetables. 90% of Americans do not eat the minimum recommendation of vegetables in a given day. Eat more vegetables, my friends. And I need to do my spiritual practice, which is very, very personal to me. But it is something that has to happen every day. I need to commune with what is greater than me to remind myself that I am indistinguishable from the thing that we are all part of and I live in service of.
All right. Well, hey, Misfit Nation, you heard it here. Hey, check out Better Than Fine on Spotify. The name is Darlene Marshall. It will not be listed as Darlene Badass Marshall. It's just Darlene Marshall.
I dig it, though. I embrace it.
Thank you for hanging out. We love you. Thank you for the questions. If you're feeling the darkness, remember 988, hit option 1 if you're a veteran. Somebody will talk to you. And if you don't get what you're looking for there, reach out to us. We will talk to you. Steven, any last thoughts?
Let's say email us. We'll send you numbers. You can text us, call us, whatever you need to do.
All right. And don't forget to catch us on Reads Across America. What time is it, Steven?
3 o'clock Eastern.
All righty. Hey, Misfit Nation, we love you. And we will catch you.
Darlene, thank you.
Thank you,
Darlene.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.